We are skipping ahead just a little bit, and we're going to talk about Tom Murphy. I'm skipping ahead. I don't have any inside intel on this, but it seems very likely that Tom Murphy is going to be playing for a different team in 2023. And I just thought it would be weird to post a video on a guy who's going to be playing elsewhere that's not a Kelnick or Suarez or Teoscar type of thing. Like, all due respect to Tom Murphy, he wasn't that guy, but he was somebody the Seattle Mariners missed an awful lot after his injury. Before we get into it, let's thank Simply Seattle for providing the very best in Seattle sports gear. Great stuff for those Mariners, of course, but the Huskies, I love this hat so very, very much. You can find good stuff for the Cougars, the Storm, the Sounders, the Kraken, who stink on ice, literally and figuratively, I think, right now. Maybe not so much literally, but you know what I mean. You can find it all at Simply Seattle. Use code MOLLYWOP15 to save 15% off your order at checkout. There is a link in the description. So Tom Murphy ended up playing 47 games for the Seattle Mariners. And in 159 plate appearances, he hit 290, 335, 538 with 8 homers. That is an OPS plus of 142. It will not surprise you that Tom Murphy did not steal a base in 2023. We give the front office a hard time sometimes. Not so well, sometimes it's fair. We give ownership a blast a lot. There might be a long video coming in that regard. We'll see how I'm feeling. But they won this trade, and it wasn't a super heralded one, but they traded him for Jesus Ozuna, who was out of baseball, I believe, 4 years ago. Advantage Mariners. It's worth pointing out they got him from the Giants after the Giants claimed him, so it's not like the Giants lost out on something. You know what I'm trying to say. Former top prospect for Colorado who struggled to stay healthy, struggled to, I think there were some defensive question marks there that we'll get into in just a second. But his 4 years there, outside of 2021, when he really struggled over those 97 games, was a very solid offensive player. And the Mariners missed him after that thumb injury. I don't think there's any question about it, because he was raking against left-handers, and he was somebody who could give Big Dumper a day off or two, or allow Big Dumper to go DH. Mariners could have him DH against left-handed pitching. They did not get the same type of production nor anywhere close from the other catchers behind Big Dumper. And, you take a look at the Savant page, which, you just can't help but do. He earned those numbers. Like, his barrel percentage was 14.6. That is outstanding. Expected slugging of 498. Expected weighted on base average of 351 is well above average. He made contact on the sweet spot 40.8% of times. So just over 2 out of 5 times that ball found that sweet spot. That's really good. That is a really, really good number. Now, he also swung and missed a lot. Not at the Taylor Trammell or some of the other guys we've talked about rate, but 30.4 is bad. 27.7% of your plate appearances ending in strikeouts is bad. And only 6.3% of your plate appearances ending in walk is also bad. He gripped and ripped, but he made hard contact a lot. He made hard contact an awful lot. Hard hit percentage of 44.7 would have been in like the 70th percentile if he qualified. But he didn't qualify because of that injury. And like I said, it hurt the Seattle Mariners. It probably hurt Tom Murphy a little more because he had a fracture in his thumb. Sounds horrible, by the way. Whoa. I've had injuries to my wrist and to my hand, but I've never had like a severe finger injury. They just sound miserable. They just sound really, really miserable. And speaking of miserable, I think one of the reasons why we're not going to see Tom Murphy back in Seattle, he's just not a good catcher. At one point, he was a decent one with a good throwing arm. I think he was like second in baseball one year with like 40% caught stealing. That's super good. But it's just not there anymore. His pop time, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with pop time, which is probably the overwhelming majority of you, it is basically ball gets to catcher, ball ends up in second baseman's mitt, the time between that. And you're looking for something in that 1.8, 1.85. If you're really good below that, but like right around that range, his was 2.05. And that extra fractions of seconds, while it may not seem like bad. I forgot words there, but bad. That was in the 7th percentile of all catchers. He's not a good framer. He's not a good blocker of the baseball. He's just not a great defensive player. And with the Mariners being pretty darn bad at holding runners too, that was a bad combination. He hurt the Mariners defensively. He helped them, I think, more with his bat than hurt them defensively. But there's no denying that his defense has gotten so much worse and wasn't likely to get better. Not at the age of 32. I think he'll be 33 at some point next year. Happy early birthday, Tom. But I think the overall Tom Murphy experience was a positive one, a flawed one that struggled with injuries. Again, the defensive issues. But he could hit. And it's why I think somebody's going to give him a reasonable salary for 2024 to go be a backup catcher / designated hitter / option off the bench against lefties. And it's why I'm not completely ruling him out as a return to Seattle. Seby Zavala is nowhere close to the offensive player he is, but infinitely better defensively. And I think they may value that a little more. But I can't completely rule it out. Not with this team so platoon heavy and financial issues. Can't completely rule it out, but I think it's very likely he's going to play for another team. We'll always have the memes, however you're supposed to say that word. The frightening face that he would make. Yeah. Tom Murphy was a guy that they missed in that second half of the year for sure. And I hope he goes rakes somewhere else. Go back to the Rockies. Go just launch a bunch of dingers and realize that your defense doesn't matter for an absolutely garbage team. So Tom Murphy, would you like to see him back in Seattle? I wouldn't hate it. I just don't want to talk about money right now. I don't have it. The Mariners apparently don't have it. Nobody has it. But I think he could serve a reasonably solid role for the Mariners again in 2024. I just don't want to watch him catch all that much. And since he can't play anywhere else, I think he would probably be okay at first base if you gave him a full offseason to work on it. But that's tough. That's tough with limited roster spots. So yeah, you tell me whether or not you would like to see Tom Murphy back. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Please go check out my top 15 prospect video also. I worked really hard on it. And I'm not going to review shame anybody, but it doesn't have nearly enough. As always, I really appreciate the support. Be back. I think Josh Rojas is next, so that'll be fun. Anyway, thanks, Tom. You were a good Mariner.